My bows and bow ties. This is the Black Opinionated woman, also known as a bow. So I'm sitting at a practice for my daughter's lacrosse team, but I figured this would be a good time to record a live. So if you're new to my channel, I talk about three things. I talk about Black women, Black culture, and anything related to being middle-aged. So that might be anything in relation to parenting, child rearing, career, body changes. But today, what I'm going to talk about is Blacks in STEM. Know who is an ally. Now, I don't expect this to be entirely everything. Well, actually, I do because I'm amazing in my own mind. I just want to say, y'all gonna have to excuse me with the hair situation. It was cuter this morning, but you know, we've got elements and humidity, and it's threatening to have 40 days and 40 nights of rain out here in these streets. But I want to talk about this. Okay. So, for those of you who know me, I'm just here to give you the gratuitous. Go ahead and hit that like button. Just do it in advance. Okay? Just do it in advance. Okay, so let's talk about Blacks in STEM. I don't think this one's going to be too long, but I may turn around and record another one of these. The first one I want to say is, since we're talking about knowing who's an ally, I want to say this. Number one, Black people are not always your ally. Now, I want you to let that one sink in for a second. Black people are not always your ally. I have seen this time and time again. Many of us who are out here stemming in these streets, of course, there are people who are going to be supportive, but there are also people who are not supportive. And yeah, I'm going to give you one story in particular. I have many, but I'm going to give you my most recent one. I was working with this particular engineer who happens to be about 500 years older than me because he's a hater. Anyway, I was in a particular role that required him to actually provide me with information. Okay, so what happened was, at the time, because the things that he needed to do, I had been in that role actually a couple times. I was very familiar with what he had to do. Honestly, it wasn't really difficult, but it does require you to do some critical thinking and to be you have to be able to pay attention to details. So anyway, he was supposed to come back and give me some information, and the information he brought back was erroneous. No big deal. I looked at it right away and I could tell it was wrong. So I was like, hey, you may want to circle back and ask about blah, blah, blah. And so he went back and he did it again and gave me the same exact bad information. And so I said, hey, yeah, this isn't right. We're going to have to go back and blah, blah, blah. And then he had to go back again. Now this is thrice. And when he did, he got information that not only was erroneous, but it wasn't even on what I was looking for. It's kind of like saying, get me information on hot dogs and you come back with tutus. I'm like, yeah. So I'm looking for hot dogs. He's giving me information on tutus. And so I'm like, okay, this is just wrong. So then he's in his feelings and now he's mad. But the fact of the matter is, it was bad. It was wrong. And so I had pulled him aside again and I said, yeah, this is just, and he didn't like it. But I pulled him aside because, if you look like me, well, anybody really, you want to always assume noble intent. That's one of the things that I've learned. But when I pulled him aside, he didn't like it. I guess he didn't like that it came from me. That bird just flew by in the back. That was a gangster looking bird, by the way. Anyway, so this man decides that he didn't like it. He didn't want to do it. But he did not vet his own information. And so at this point, he's getting upset. So then I pulled him into a meeting with some of his teammates. I said, hey, this is the kind of thing that we're looking for, blah, blah, blah. Now, this is the fifth time. Broke it down, whiteboarded it out, etc. Explained why. I gave them, possible ways to vet the information. Came back wrong again. That's the fifth time. So at this point, I'm putting everything in writing. Yes, we can't do this, blah, blah, blah. This does not help. I'm giving the reasons why, the impact. The information goes out. He's in his feelings. And my lead is seeing this at this point. I was like the backup. So now the information goes out. do you know this shiggity is wrong again? I'm like, okay, so now we're in full-on dum-dum silence. And I tried to pull him aside and he didn't want to listen. And he's like, I am not going to go back and this, that, and the other. I'm like, but this is literally wrong. And should we present this information, this is going to look bad. And you know me, I'm not going to assign my name to some shenanigans. So anyway, it basically showed that he did not have the ability to engage in critical thinking. He did not have the ability to vet his information, and he basically exposed that he couldn't do his job. Now, I was willing to help, but if you get your hind parts on your shoulders. So now, the seventh time, ding dong comes to my desk. Now, I was in the middle of a meeting, a virtual meeting, so I had headsets on and I was having a conversation, and he came over. And he's like, hey, I sent you some information. And the information he sent back was wrong again. I was like, if I can look at this and tell without doing any real critical thinking, right? I didn't do much of anything. When I looked at the information, it was immediate. Now, also, I've done this type of thing before, so I could look at it right away and it's like, not only no, but all the way, hell no. But at this point now, I'm just kind of like, he's wasting my time. And he doesn't want to take suggestions. And then he wants to like pop off and get smart with me. And so after he got aggressive and got smart, you know, I have a way of making you completely irrelevant. I'm like, please leave my desk. And he starts saying things. I'm just kind of like, basically he's losing it, right? Basically I turned my back on him, but he starts pointing and everything. He was getting like extra. And so at this point, I'm like, I need you to leave because you are not in control of yourself. Now, I don't go out of my way to ruin anyone's livelihood. Do you know that this Bama tried it? He absolutely tried it. You know what he tried to do? He actually tried to report me all the way up through, like, you know, management and everything like that. Now, because he's so dumb, he didn't realize other people could hear his conversation. And also everyone knew I was in the middle of a meeting anyway. So I paused what I was doing to address Dum Dum. And my lead also happened to hear it. And he was aware of what was going on because he was on email. You know I'm not a dum dum. I keep a trail if necessary. And plus, you know, he was courtesy copied on things. Not blind copied, courtesy copied. Now, so Ding-a-Ling decides to try to say, oh, she's just being just disrespectful and unprofessional, all this other extra. Keep in mind, I don't come for him, he comes for me. Now, it wound up being squashed and he wound up being exposed for a liar, but other people saw the shenanigans. They're like, he really did that? And see, that just lets you know. This was a grown man who looked like me, who tried it. There are some out there. There are some out there who will try it. Let me just say this. There are some black people out there who don't like working with other black people. Now, let me just say this. There's not many of this, especially for what I do, okay? And for those of you who want to know, I'm doing systems engineering. I've been doing a lot of architecture, okay? I just actually switched to a completely different role. I wanted to go to a non-technical role, but be like more of a technical advisory. But that particular position, I was in architecture. My engineering degree is not even in that. That's what makes it so funny. Interestingly enough, you will find that when dealing with some of the professionals out here, sometimes they want to be the only ones. They want to be the only black people out there, and there's not many of us. So usually when you see us, it's almost like a sighting. It's almost as if like we're getting culture shock. Like, is that another black over there? For the most part, most of us are like, hey, how's it going? But there are some who don't want to associate with other black people. Okay, so just understand that not black people aren't going to always want to be your ally because they're so busy trying to get close to whiteness. They're afraid that people are going to think that they're stupid or something. And let me tell you something. Many of the black people that I know who are performing in such roles, they're highly intelligent, super talented, such as myself. But yeah, seriously. So, and you know, I'm one of those people, like, if I have to do something, I like to know my job, like all the way know my job. I don't like not knowing. I like to do like the best that I can within reason, right? You know, because I do have children. But I think the biggest thing is the biggest takeaway to all of my soon-to-be graduates out here coming from in college is just beware that not all blacks are going to be your ally. And especially if you're coming from an HBCU where they are fostering that community, that like healthy competition, but also supportive environment. When you step outside of the comfort of that environment, let me just say, for the most part, blacks are pretty cool. But I'm telling you, there are some blackity blacks out there that are not allies. Not all skin folk are kinfolk. Now, I'm going to go on to my next point. There are going to be non-black people who are an ally. And now, when I say an ally, let me just say this. Out of all the mentors and I would say somewhat sponsors, let me make this clear. All but one or two have been white men. I have never had a white female ever be a mentor or sponsor, but I've had white men and one black guy and one black woman, as far as different phases, different parts. But I've never had a white woman. Most of the sponsors I've had, though, have been white men. Now, I would surmise, one, because I was not considered a threat, right? I was young. They were older. Two, they saw my work ethic. And when they saw the work ethic, they were like, okay, well, there's no need. Like, look, she can do good things. Because believe it or not all white people are like the Antichrist, okay? Like, for some of you who thinks like all white people are, they're not. Actually, some of my best relationships, honestly, as far as in my career field, have come from white men. Now, there have been some white men who have been treacherous and have engaged in subversive behavior. I've seen that too. But you're going to find that you're going to have people who are going to rock for you who don't look like you. And they're going to go harder for you than people who do look like you. I have found that because, there's the effects of white supremacy out here in these streets. But what I have found is that those white men did not fear me. Okay? Now, I'm going to tell you what I will say regarding mentorship and sponsorship. Now, for those of you who don't understand the difference, mentors help skill you. They guide you down the right paths. They give you information. They help you become solid in your career field. They'll give you good advice on like, okay, this is what you need to do next. These are the industry best practices you need to be familiar with, etc. Sponsors are the ones who help you get promoted. They're the ones who, when your name comes up behind closed doors, they're the ones who give you like a good word. Those are the ones who help open doors. They're the ones who help position you. Okay? Now, a mentor and sponsor can be wrapped up in one. Why did I mention that? Now, I want you to listen to me, especially for the blackity blacks. I want you to listen, all the way listen. This is key. What I have found, now this is just my set of experiences. I have found that the few black people that were able, that were older than me that I've run across, they were really good mentors. I have not found them to be the greatest sponsors. A lot of black people, older generation people, sometimes they are afraid to lend you their brand. That's sponsorship. When they lend their name to you, they take a shit like they don't necessarily lend their brand, right? Especially when you get into higher echelons, especially those who are making like the crazy kind of money. And what I am saying is, those people, those black people, for me, this is my set of experiences, and too bad I'm not on my StreamYard. I'm doing this through I'm doing this through YouTube, the mobile app. So hopefully this all comes out. I have found that the black mentors weren't necessarily sponsors. Some of it maybe could have been, maybe they couldn't position me so that I would have opportunities. I think some of them could have. I think a lot of black people can be scared to lend their brand. Okay, they have to. They got to go out on a limb and they got to recommend you. I found that came from white men. So let me just recap so far. Black people are not always your ally. Number two, non-black people will be an ally for you. And number three, I want to talk about the many faces of women. this is a tough one because I suspect that people are not going to necessarily agree with me on this, but these are my opinions. I wish I was on StreamYard and I could put up my banner and just say these are just my opinions and everything is alleged to be true or not true, whatever. Listen to me. What I am finding, number one, when you're looking for an ally, now as a woman, as a full-on black woman, I've had one mentor, one black female mentor. Women have been tougher on women, and that's been consistent. And that black female mentor, she was tough on me. Like, her expectations of me were like super high, and they weren't necessarily bad, but also women who came up, before me, they came through a different time. So the way they perceived women like me, they were very critical of so much, whether it's how I dress. And I didn't dress like a hooker or anything, but I wanted to be cute and I used to do my hair and all that other stuff back then. I used to be really like girly. But they're very critical and they will grill you tougher. I've had an interview where I knew I nailed that sucker, and this woman tried to grill me, and I was getting ready to like light her up. I mean, I got the position, but definitely yes. When I interview with men for like different roles and position, not to say it's a cakewalk, it's not so much as that. It's just we just do the interview, and I just try to own the interview. But I found that women will try to trip you up. They want to make sure, because you can't possibly come in there and be that woman who doesn't perform. So these are just my experiences. But yeah, women can be tougher on women. I found that many of the black women, now this is just my set of experiences, they were questionable. I actually saw with a white woman are some of the shadiest ones too. All women are shady. Now I say that tongue in cheek because not all of them are like that, but you got to be mindful. Because, you would think that they will pull you along and say, okay, this is how you make it. This is how you grow. This is how you do these things. Let me tell you, in engineering and specifically, it is tough. It's all the way tough. Now, granted, I've been doing this for like 5 million years now. So, I'm in a good space. But coming up and coming through, and you're dealing with like other technical women who've been doing it for longer, definitely it was tougher. It's tougher working with the women. It's like they had something to prove and they don't want you to get ahead, and they have to work so hard, and it's like you would think that they would want to pave the way to make it so that it would be easier. At least that's how I was treating people. I would engage in knowledge transfer. I found that many of the women did not necessarily engage in knowledge transfer, and so you're forced to go to men. And the ones who are not crazy, they're super dope. Okay? Now, I don't mean to paint a bleak picture, but these are my set of experiences, and other people will somewhat agree. Things are changing though, because you have people like me out here in these streets. I'm like, okay, this is what we need to do. You need to consider doing this, and I want you to learn this, and it's going to take you far. And don't stay in this position for too long. You don't need to be there 500 years. You just need to be there for 5 nanoseconds. You need to learn what you need to learn, get the language, get the lingo, do these things, and now pursue some other opportunities. But anyway, that's it. That's what I wanted to talk about. Those 3 main things. You have to know who's an ally. 1, blacks aren't always going to be your ally. 2, non-black people will be your ally. And 3, understand the many faces of women, because some of them are not for you. Some of them could be still very competitive. And they make it, I don't know, not all of them, of course, not all for anything, but these are my experiences. All right. So now that I know how much you really enjoyed me yipping and yapping and yapping and yipping, so go ahead and hit that thumbs up. Just go ahead and do it. Just do it. Just hit the thumbs up. Because this was amazing, right? So yeah, go ahead and hit that thumbs up and subscribe. You know why? Because you know you like me. You all the way like me. I'm entertaining in my own mind. But on a serious note, in order for YouTube to push my videos, they have to know who likes listening to her yipping and yapping? So one of the ways that they look at that, or one of the ways that they can tell it is by you subscribing. Another way is by you seeing my videos all the way through. Another way is for you saying something in the comments. Another way is for you sharing it. And another way is for you showing your support by giving me the thumbs up. Not thumbs down, thumbs up. I call it the 5 S's, okay? So go ahead, just go ahead and hook it up. Just all the way hook it up. All right? So I'm going to end this video here because I need to come prepared for my next one. All right. Black opinionated woman.